Change, Mary. I've tried to get a job.
I'm sorry, John, but I have to live my own life. I need my own career. I have to be me.
You!
Goodbye, John.
No, you can't go.
Let go, John.
No!
Let go of my leg, John.
Let go.
Welcome back to part 4, the final installment of NFB November. I'm happy to be done. I'm happy to be finally through with this entirely. If you have stuck around from the intro all the way up until this point, or even hopped in from an earlier episode, thank you. You deserve all the accolades in the world for sticking by with these ramblings every week. Today, we're going to be talking about something fun. We're going to be tackling some musical marvels over here. All of these shorts emphasize music above all else, and they are arguably my favorite set of all of these films, just in general. I pick them all because they're pretty personal to me. I enjoy all of them, but, let's not lie. This set, it'll get you popping every day of the week. Alright, so the first film that I want to tackle today would be the 2004 Moon Man, directed by Paul Morstad. A lot of these films are primarily modeled around the aesthetic of a folk song, and this is one of the first in this category. So this film was inspired by the song Moon Man Nufi, and it utilizes a very complex but very aesthetically different kind of art style in order to bring it to life. It utilized IMAX's sand technology to bring it to life, and it gives it this really cool 2.5D look. Obviously, at the center of the story, you have a fisherman, and the visuals that are given to accompany this are really psychedelic, man. It looks like it's done in mostly just a few wide tracking shots, and the way that it's pulled off is really nice. The movement design alone, it reminds me of earlier films made with computer animation in the 70s, but this one has a bit more of a stylistic touch to it. The visual narrative is built entirely around the song, so the visuals can get pretty trippy because they move entirely to the beat of the song. Not entirely in rhythm, but in tone and in exercise. So it has an archaic feeling, but it's also articulate. You know, there's a lot that's being said in the visuals, despite the fact that, you know, it might just reflect what's in the song. There's a lot more to it, rather. The song is really catchy, and the chorus will probably get stuck in your head long before the short's over. But other than that, you gotta just watch it all come together. The next film on the roster is the 1995 Cactus Swing by Susan Crandall and Beth Portman. The whole film itself is interpretation of dance. It's based off of a song by the Great Western Orchestra, and it's brought to life through the perspective of anthropomorphized cacti and other desert critters as they dance in the moonlight to a jaunty little folk tune. Most of this is seen through the perspective of a Mountie who is awoken by this jaunty little spectacle in the middle of the night, in the middle of the desert, and he watches a lot of this play out from the comfort of a cozy little cave, and other than the beginning and the end, he just takes a backseat and just watch a lot of this come together. See, the thing about these films is that you have to look at the story through the music and the expression that goes with it. Sometimes not all the lyrics will make perfect sense, but the visuals will invent the story from that, and it is kind of just an expression of the visual interpretation that goes with it. Cactus Swing and the music that drives the film is it's fairly abstract in messaging, but it's just kind of there to communicate they're having a good old grand old time, and that's all it really needs to do, perhaps. The strongly saturated colors tend to stick out. Any use of red within the palette particularly pops out well, but the establishing shot, let me just say, was very wonderfully done. The character design really sticks out. It's very bouncy, expressive. It's elastic, as it should be, because while everybody's getting down to the folk tune, you know, everyone needs to squash and stretch and indicate a lot of movement, so the character design is really well suited for that. There's a lot of good timing that goes with this short. The song itself is not entirely the focus. There are a couple of background characters that pop up here and then, and you get to follow them around for a little bit, and when their portions come up, the timing is excellent. The environment is really well utilized here. The set made for it is just totally filled up and brought to life by all these characters, framing the whole plot around this one Mountie surprisingly didn't disrupt things too much anyway. But yeah, it's just a very fun, light and bouncy entry, and it needs to be seen to be believed, I guess. The next film on our roster would be the 1991 favorite Black Fly, directed by Christopher Hinton. It's based off of a folk song of the same name by Canadian folk singer Wade Hemsworth, and this rendition was particularly brought to life by him and the McGonagall sisters. It's a very jaunty tune, you know, you have to listen to it sometime, but both the film and the song are illustrative of Hemsworth's time in Little Abitibi, working amongst all of these black flies, all of these pests and things. And of course, it's a pretty humorous film, but there's also like a manic energy that gets you going. It energizes the song, but it also adds to the frustration of seeing all these black flies on the screen, and you're pulled right into the middle of the action once the music gets you involved. The visuals kind of make it reflect almost as if it's a storybook, but everything that's happening on screen is like way too manic and out there for it to ever be rendered in a book. But its visuals do tell the story very, very well, and it just looks gorgeous. Again, sometimes the visuals go off the rails and they get pretty experimental with what they're trying to convey, but it contributes to the general feeling. It's only 5 minutes, but they have a lot of time to squeeze in all of these ancillary details. You know, they did the song justice, and it's a great visual interpretation of a song. It's definitely one of my favorites. Alright, so the next entry on our list is the shortest one, clocking in at about 3 minutes. It's also perhaps the oldest on the list, coming from 1979, and it is a classic up north. It is a national symbol, an icon to all. Introducing the log Drivers Waltz. It was rendered beautifully by John Weldon, and it was again inspired by a song by Wade Hemsworth, who is also a cultural icon up there. But you know what, I gotta praise the animation first, so let me get down to it. The song is told entirely from the perspective of a girl looking inward to Phineas over here is all grown up, now is a log driver up north, and it's a love story, but it's a very kooky one at that. Before I go in, I gotta compliment the rhythm, right? This song itself has a very steady beat to it, but the way that it comes out in the animation is just, it's gorgeous, man. Like, John Wilden tends to have, like, a very kind of unsteady style. You know, everything kind of flaps about, and a lot of stuff squashes and stretches, and it's all very inconsistent, and I think that suited this one pretty well because of the rapid movement involved to kind of convey the dangers of log driving. And there's a lot of visual humor that also comes out in it. I mean, it's just such an expressive and dynamic creator to bring this song to the forefront, and it makes it such a powerful piece. I think that's what people liked about it. It's just that it's a jaunty little tune, but the animation hypes it up like 3 or 4 times than it would normally be because of the way that the animation just pops out. Like, it has its own rhythm to it. It adds an extra rhythm to the song that you wouldn't normally have. Like, it's just that good. The art style is pretty simple. It's pretty charming, but again, it's also got this like wild energy to it. It's contained. It's not like Black Fly where it's just left out into the weeds, but it's there, and it's a very expressive piece in general. This is a very Canadian piece. Like, this is the impetus of Canadian culture, and it's expressed mainly in that this is one of the NFB's most famous films in general. It's one of the most beloved and well-respected, and I think the identity that it possesses unabashedly, it's fundamental into making it what it is at its core. There are a couple of segments in the beginning and the end that are live action right before the main song begins that kind of bridges the action into the real world and grounds it kind of within the bounds of reality. Like, yeah, this could totally happen in real life. Maybe it was a true story, maybe it isn't. But it is a folk song at its core, a Canadian one, and it very much embraces and celebrates its identity. And quite honestly, it couldn't be more proud of that, because it's a symbol of authority. Like, this film is like one of the best Canadian cartoons ever made. Like, probably ever. And I know there's no place for me to say that as a burger, you know, as an American. But, you know, this is it. This is among, like, the best work to be shown publicly out there. And I think, you know, if we had to make any symbol, a symbol of what an animation can do up there, this is it. Its identity is definitely part of its appeal, no doubt. And I don't know if this could happen anywhere else in the world but Canada, but this is it, man. This is like top tier. This is like, I don't know where it could go. We have one more film to talk about, but really, like, this is tops. So yeah, if you had to watch any of these films, like, out of this whole list, this whole playlist of films, has to be this one. You have to start with this one first. This is like baseline territory.
Please, Mary, I've tried to get a job.
I'm sorry, John, but I have to live my own life. I need my own career. I have to be me.
You!
Goodbye, John.
No, you can't go.
Let go, John.
No!
Let go of my leg, John.
Let go.
Alright, so this last film is definitely in my top 5 NFB cartoons. Personal favorite. Favorite out of this list. Favorite out of all 20 of these films, definitely. And when I said Log Drivers Waltz was the glass ceiling, basically, this is it. I wasn't lying, but this one's higher up for me. on a personal note, this one just steals my everything. Every time I watch it, I'm just memorized. I am lost in thought for 3 days straight. Like, there's nothing else on my mind but this film. It is that good. Get a Job is a 1985 epic by Brad Casler, and it is a grand mishmash of great animated excellence. It follows the story of a Bob Dog on his theoretical quest to find a job and to get out there and do that thing. So the main plot focuses on a Bob Dog trying to get a job and get out into the real world and do his stuff. The song at the forefront of the story is in fact a smash hit from the 50s, and this film is like a great tribute to not only that song but to animation in general. It has a specific mood and a flavor to it that I've yet to see again, or at least in that capacity. We've talked about rhythm and how important that is to these films. This film, I would say, has a rhythm, but it also has very specific timing to it. It's very snappy, it's very on point, and it's essential for a humorous film like this one to be on point with timing and direction and rhythm, and it has all of that just down pat. It could be an educational short if it really wanted to be presented as such, but it just works on all different levels. The art direction borrows a lot from Golden Age animation. Character design is definitely in that tier, but the movement itself is just, it's very different. It's like all the characters have giant sacks of water that they're like tethered to, and they move in this very chaotic kind of way, but it's also, it works. Like, it sounds like it wouldn't particularly work out in movement design, but it works especially well for all of these guys. The animation style reminds me a lot of M. Wartella's work, or, you know, similar artists. It's just, it's different, but it's lively, it works pretty well, kind of like the last entry, but it's a lot more self-aware, it's a lot more snappy, it's very with it. It moves faster than your eyes can process everything. You know, it's just, it travels 10 miles a minute. It just never, ever stops. And the nice thing about it is that it's still grounded in reality. You know, the main character still has this realistic struggle, and a lot of the challenges he goes through are probably hitting home with a lot of people that watch it initially. It's a very visceral struggle, but it's also given whole new life. It made getting a job so fun and energetic. From start to finish, every part of this film manages to squeeze in more laughs and more jokes than I've ever seen before. Even the ending, at the split second, manages to drop a zinger. And it is just indescribable how that actually plays out. It's definitely my kind of film. It's energetic and expressive, and it's got good songs in it, so it's definitely up my alley, and I would implore you to check it out, because I don't know, again, if I have done it justice by just describing it to you. It's just that good. Alright, I think we're done. We are done with this series. It's finally over. It's been a good month, but we're finally all the way through with it. I appreciate whoever managed to stick around for all of this. You're a trooper, seriously. Go check out any one of these films from any part of this collection. They're all great. They will all move your soul. Hopefully I was able to end on a strong note. But, yeah. That's pretty much it. I only have one more video prepared for this year, and then I'm gonna be gone until early February, so, I hope you enjoyed it while it lasts. But I will see you in a week or so, I guess.